The following podcast is brought to you by Cast Content Media.
Hey guys, it's Ron Worley, your most imperfect host of Sons of Ditches. People are liars, thieves, addicts, and assholes. Some people change, and a few make a difference. But everyone has a story. Hey everybody, it's Ron Worley with another week of Sons of Ditches. Just getting over the COVID. Man, that was miserable. Don't get that if you can help it, guys. This week, we have on Donna Tashjia. She's a life mastery coach and a speaker, and also has a wonderful podcast called You Were Designed for Greatness. I'll let her speak about it. We've talked about it the last time, but she has a great philosophy, making your baggage into luggage.
Yes.
And there we go. Donna, welcome again. Thank you so much for coming on.
It is my pleasure to be here today. It's always fun to carry on the conversation because it really doesn't feel like it's long enough all the time to get into everything. And it was such a pleasure being there the first time. So,
well, thank you. Thank you. And since then we've had Christmas. You've also gotten COVID.
I did.
And
I don't want to do that again.
Yeah, it really isn't good, is it? Okay, so Christmas came and went, and we're in the new year. What are we doing for the new year to help people out here?
Well, one of the things that I'm doing, we mentioned previously, my program called Turn Your Baggage into Luggage.
Yes.
What I've started doing this year is doing free workshops so that people can get tools and strategies. It's absolutely free, and it is where else? On Zoom, where everything is.
Yes, ma'am. That's where it's all going to.
Everything is on Zoom. And so I have one, I'm not sure when this will air, but I have one every other month. And so there'll be one in February. I'm not sure when this is airing, and then again in April.
Yep.
So learning, but that is a resource if you or someone who's struggling. That's absolutely free, and there's full of tools you can use to be able to move forward and really excel.
Yeah, and so let's remind everybody a little bit about your background and how you kind of got into this, because it's because we've also had a rough childhood.
Yes.
Something in our life has happened.
Yes.
Remind us what that was.
Yes. I was a teenage mom at the age of 15. And there is a whole story. I think I got into that last time. So they can listen to that podcast for all of that.
Absolutely.
So I grew up feeling, I fast tracked to adulthood, right?
Mm-hmm.
And feeling like there was a lot of shame and anger and frustration, and I'm going to prove them wrong.
Right.
But it was a pretty big ditch, if you will, to try to figure out how to cope and move through that. So that is, and I grew up in the time and era in religious family that this wasn't okay.
Right.
So there was a lot of that going on.
So I totally get that, because when I was in my 20s, now, first of all, my mother she had me at 16. So, and it's still weird because she's very young looking. So even now I'm almost 50 and we look like sister and brother. So it's super weird. And she's right there at my age. I actually look up to her because it's like having a mentor because she's so young. But it's been a cool relationship. So, but anyways, I digress. I was trying to say, in my 20s, I had my children, and I would go to pick them up from school, and there would be these other people, other parents there, and they were still married. And so the shame I felt, I was at a Catholic, these kids went to Catholic schools, and here I thought, I'm divorced, and the amount of shame that but it's ourselves that we shame more than a lot of other people shaming us or judging us. Is that true? Or for you, was that true?
I think there was some of both. Definitely in my situation, in learning that I can remember saying, I can't wait till my age matches my responsibility.
It never does.
And, and it's just like, so I'm in my 50s and my daughter's in her 40s.
It's wild.
Yeah. And, so just learning how to, but I can remember feeling those kind of things, that feeling of not being enough, of whatever that is, and guilt. Don't get us started on guilt.
Yeah. Yeah, no kidding.
Oh, but all of that, even if other people don't know our story, we think we're like looking down on ourselves. And I think that's what you're alluding to, is like we're looking at the ground or avoiding or hiding and all of those kinds of things that we do but they're coping mechanisms we've learned to figure out how to survive. They just don't work so well.
Right.
When we're an adult, they really don't work well. But we learned these, or we develop these skills, coping mechanisms. They're not really a skill, to be able to survive in whatever situation we find ourselves in.
And they're not always healthy.
No, they're not.
Where you come in to change those over from baggage to luggage,
right,
and make them healthy. So I figured out through years of counseling that I used to put people on pedestals. I used to look at other people, want to be them. And ultimately it was because I didn't like myself or think of myself as an equal or, worthy. And so I would make, especially women, put them on a pedestal. And over the years, you change, things would come out, and it's kind of embarrassing. My people are going to get way too much info, but the whole, we're getting deep now. So the whole reason that I was putting women on pedestals, that the way I dealt with that, to feel equal to them, was to bed them. And then I would feel equal. And it was very archaic, but gosh, over the years, luckily that went away, but
yes,
lots of work.
We do all kinds of things to make ourselves feel better. And one of the interesting things about feeling less than and not enough is, the way I word it is, comparison kills. If I am comparing myself, I usually, to another woman, whatever, I'm always going to be a poor imitation.
Sure.
I'm never going to be the original. So It's always a poor imitation. But do we actually realize that we're perfect because we're perfectly us?
Right.
When we're authentic and when I'm me, I really am perfect. How can I not be enough if I'm 100% me?
Right.
And you can never be it, and nobody else can ever be you. And And when we quit striving and understand I am on a journey and you're on a journey, they're going to look different. And you compare your weaknesses to my strengths, we're always going to be at a deficit when we do things like that. And so learning to compare, not to anyone, just embrace my journey, to understand it's my journey. If I'm having a rough day, it's my journey. If I'm having a fabulous day, it's still my journey, and I'm 100% me. And when we can begin to really grasp that, I don't need to be you. I don't need to be another woman or, anybody else. It's just be you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And as fallible as we are as humans, we're still perfectly fallible. And I love that you said that, because, especially as younger people growing up, if you don't have a really good mentoring system ahead of you, your parents, somebody like that, you get stuck in your own head and you make these weave these webs in your head.
Yes, you do.
So,
and we know everything at 20, right?
Oh yeah. Well, of course.
we know everything, and we don't realize that we're being that way, but we really think we know everything. We have all the answers and we just know, and we really don't.
And we don't. Nothing bad's happened yet, you know. At some point we get knocked off our block, and next thing you know, we don't know everything. It's funny how life has a way.
Absolutely.
So you mentioned your daughter is in her 40s,
Mhm.
and that is really cool. So I imagine you have grandkids as well.
Yes.
Awesome.
I have 3 children, and I have with all of that, I have 8 grandchildren.
Wow.
So my children are all married, and like I was a grandmother at 38.
That's wild. Oh my gosh. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's an interesting thing to ask you then, because you know, you were so young, you had
Yep.
no choice but to really do some things that might have gave some damage to your child, or at least didn't understand how to raise a child at that young of age, I imagine. Were there Sorry.
Is it working? Okay.
There we go. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Guys, cut that out. Is there anything that is residual that maybe your daughter has passed on, or what is that like are your grandkids like 10 times the woman you ever were? Or, you know, I look at my children and they're just better than me, and I raised them better, you know. I don't know. We try to, but I imagine your daughter and you had some great conversations when she was growing up.
Yeah.
You know,
We had a few rough patches when she was a teenager, as she was trying to find out who she was in the midst of everything that happened.
Yeah.
To me and the situation. But overall, we've had an amazing relationship. The main thing, I think, that if I was to go back and redo it, was quit thinking that I wasn't good enough. That helps you parent from a fear place. It's
sure.
like, you know, whatever I need to do in my correction of her behavior, or in my activities and my reactions to things, as if somehow I'm not a good enough mom. And that's one thing that I would change about myself. But all my kids are doing amazing, and so are my grandkids. You know, grandkids are always amazing.
Yeah.
But you know, my kids are all married, and I have grandkids from 20 to 2.
Okay.
So a little bit of a span.
Yeah. Well, that's good. And how blessed you are to be able to have, you know, to still be in their lives and be able to see that. So I think it's a good thing you had your first child when you were young.
It all worked out. Yes.
My grandmother just passed away. She was 86 or 87. And so she was very young when she had my aunts and uncles as well. And so I've known her since when I was born. She was only 30 something years old as well. So very interesting to have her in my life, my entire life, you know.
Yeah.
So
that's very cool. That is a big blessing.
Yeah. Very cool. And she was like a mother to me. So, and I apologize if I made it sound like there was some sort of devastation in the family or anything for your children. That's not what I meant. I was trying to, that whole generational thing, we try to make our children better, and they make their children better, and this and that. But I still see in my family, my kids are doing wonderful. I accidentally raised them great. but I still see some of my mother's actions, some of the things we do. I see that in them, and I go, gosh, that's going to be a rough life if you keep messing around that way, you know.
Yeah.
And you can't stop them. So
yeah,
it is what it is.
It is. It absolutely is.
So you do have a workshop coming. We talked about that.
Yes.
I'm interested to see why or how you got you're an ordained minister.
Yes.
Is that for a marriage?
It was not for marriage. No, Vibrant Living International is a nonprofit organization, and everything I do is from a place of faith. So
Excellent.
that is, to me, it's an opportunity to really help people. I guess some people call it heart-centered. Everything I do is from that place of compassion, of helping people to succeed. So that is part of the calling on my life.
That is so great. So you raised your kids with God in their lives.
Absolutely. It's
Awesome.
what got me through.
Yeah.
Without God, I would have probably been what everybody thought I was going to become and said I was going to become. And
Sure.
I did none of that. I've been married 38 years.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. Congratulations. So in today's day, what is your take on where God has become in our lives and in our country and in our world?
That's a big subject. What
sure
are you
is.
asking me?
So it's done wonders for your career. It's done wonders for your life.
Yes.
I personally think we can see what the world is becoming.
Yes.
And because most people don't have God in their lives anymore, even
That's
if they
true.
don't go to church, you can still have God in your life. I'm not a believer in having to go to church in order to worship. However, I
Yes,
have the morals.
I'm with you. And there's importance about getting together with people that are like-minded, but you can definitely find him in the woods and find him in, every place God is present. Well, it's proven what happened even in our school system when the Bible was removed.
Yes.
And so if we just go back in our lifetime and go back to when the Bible was removed from our schools, it shows what has happened when we remove God, who is the source of everything good, from our lives. It brings more love and kindness and morality. And it's not that living, it's not condemning people for choosing immorality, if you will. It's not a judgment statement. It's when you do that, it hurts.
Yeah.
When you do that, there's consequences. When you do that, it's pain. It isn't that judging the behaviors. I don't want you to hurt.
Right.
I don't want you to go through the pain of divorce and sleeping with a lot of people. There's pain associated with that. Yeah. And so learning how to go back to the basics of finding who God is for you and that he loves you just where you are is one of the main keys. Would turn just a big dose of kindness would change everything in the world.
Yeah, for real. Do you find that people come to you when they need God the most, or do you think because for me, I was homeless and in a very bad place, and I had nowhere else to turn but to God.
Yes. Yes. A lot of the people who work with me have this desire to know God more. A lot of the time they grew up in some type of religious. What I mean by religion is a bunch of rules that we never live up to. Sure. That's what I mean when I say the word religion. Yeah. It is, I'm never good enough. I'm never going to do enough. And it doesn't matter. I'm always going to be in trouble.
Yes.
That's religion. But I share and teach people how to have a relationship with God, which is completely different.
Yes.
And understanding there's a difference. So why I said that is people want to know about God, but at the same time, it's like, I don't want to know about God because God's the guy with a big stick who's mad at me, who I'm never good enough for. And so re-educating what the truth is one of my favorite things to do.
Yeah, I love it. And really it turns people's lives around when they can understand that even when you're making mistakes, you're in
you are
grace.
loved.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I love it. Okay, Donna, so I'm going to pull a surprise on you.
Okay.
We didn't do this last time, I don't think. I think you came before we started doing this. We do a Brewster's Billions.
Okay.
Do you remember Brewster's Millions with Richard Pryor back in the day?
Nope.
The 80s. Oh my gosh, nobody remembers this show. It was one of my favorite. So I'm
You
gonna give
understand? You have to understand what was happening to me in the 79 and 80.
Okay. Yeah, time for TV.
So
Okay.
educate me. What was it?
All right. So I'm going to give you $1 billion. You have
Okay.
1 month to spend it, but you can't make money with it. So at the end of 1 month, you can't have any cash and you can't have any assets. You have to spend it and it has to just go. Who, what, where, what do you do? Who do you give it to? What do you do?
My first thought is who made the rules? I'm going to change them.
It'll be the best month of your life, but you'll be broke as a joke afterwards.
$1 billion. What would I do? I would build a retreat center for women to come. My original thought was Lake Michigan, but it might be the ocean. Anyway, a big body of water.
Mm-hmm.
Lake Michigan is near me, and so build a big retreat center for women to come and to heal and to have some quality, quiet time. That's one of the things that I would do. I have quite a list for myself and my kids personally. I don't know that would take the billion. But there's other ministries and things that are doing something similar to me. So I would most likely find those. I have to find them quickly if I only had a month, but find them and give it away.
I think if you're giving away $1 billion, they would probably find you.
That's very possible. You put the word out and they will find you. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Well, I love it. And so far, I've never had anybody say anything but what you just said, something great for the people. And I love that. I did have one that offered to buy cocaine for the state of Florida, but that guy was funny. He was just joking.
Oh, that had to have been an interesting conversation.
Yeah, it was fun. Donna, tell us again how we get a hold of you. When is your workshop, and also anything else you want? Oh, and your podcast.
My podcast is called You Were Designed for Greatness. It's on all of the platforms, and the podcast is women sharing stories of overcoming adversities, myself and others sharing tools, strategies, books, things so you get to hear a lot of inspirational stories. So that's what it's about. So check that out. Love to have more reviews. Share it with your friends and download it, and all of the things that are associated with podcasts that would help us reach more people.
Absolutely.
My website is the letter I, vibrantliving.com. And on there, you can click on there is a workshop link. You can find out the dates right there, as well as there's free books, there's free resources. My podcast is there, as well as my blog, and different resources are available. And you can schedule a consultation with me. If you want to learn more about creating the life you love, leaving the past behind, and actually being free and joy-filled, light, not heavy anymore, not stressed, and to be able to have those kind of things, schedule a call with me and I can help you.
I know you can. And if you're watching, her website is right behind her if she ducks just a little bit. Bingo, there it is. Well, that was key to advertising. I love what you did back there. It's beautiful. So you're very strategic. Very good. Donna, thanks so much for coming on again. And you're always welcome here. I love having you on. We get along so good. And I hope you don't get COVID or any of your loved ones for the rest of the year.
Yes.
Ever again.
We can be done. Thank you very much. Thank
Awesome.
you, Ronna. It has been a pleasure.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in to Sons of Ditches. For more information, go to my website, ronworley.com, and my YouTube channel, Sons of Ditches. Facebook, Ron L. Worley,
or Instagram at Ronald L. Worley II.